Well, it's been too hot to do anything else outside lately, so I spent the last 2 weeks in my basement with the AC blasting, finishing up these nightstands finally. So, yeah, as you remember, I left off, I had just glued them up, so now I'm getting around to finally doing the final sanding on the frames there, and it didn't take a lot of sanding. They were in pretty good shape, and just a little bit of routing on the sharp edges to just kind of break all the edges a little bit so that they won't chip off later and stuff like that. So that didn't take that long to do, and then I just kind of loaded everything in my little trailer and took it around to my pole barn to do the spraying. And I got out that little Harbor Freight HVLP unit that I had purchased last winter to do the spraying with, and there you can see I've got them set up, and I got the sprayer set up and all ready to go. And what you're about to see, I don't recommend trying to do. Trying to get some paint out of the can into the spray container there. I didn't realize that you couldn't just pour it. Plus, I didn't have the funnel held up. So I wound up with a little bit of a mess here, and I just kept repeating it until I finally figured out you really can't pour out of 1 gallon can a little bit at a time. So I did make a sticky mess, and in the end it wasn't too bad to clean up, but I did learn from it. So I'm getting, here it is, just straining the polyurethane. This is that mini wax polycrylic. And luckily I had gotten it half price anyway, so it didn't matter losing a little bit of it. But once I got the gun all set up, ready to go, I just took a piece of cardboard to get the spray pattern right and stuff. And I noticed it's really hot in here, and the paint as it's coming out is basically drying instantly almost. It really was way too hot to spray. I think it's probably about 94 in there right now, and between that and the heat from the compressor that blows the air through the gun, you can pretty much see that the polyurethane here was just basically drying as fast as it went on. And I just stood it up on the end there to do the bottoms that I couldn't get with it standing up, and just flipped it up and went back and started spraying everything. Now, it's kind of hard to see here, but if you notice, it's like fine threads flying back out of there. You can see in the video a little bit. And what was happening, the heat and everything was just turning it into like a liquid piece of thread and blowing it back at you, any of the overspray, when it went into little compartments there. But it did cover good, and the good thing about it was I was able to really lay the paint on heavy without getting any drips or runs, so I'd have something there to sand off, even though there was a lot of orange peel on there. So the sprayer did, make the job go pretty quick, and there's the first coat on there. That didn't take long at all, and about 2 hours later I went back and did some major sanding to get off all the orange peel that had happened on there. And now it was even hotter and humider out there, so I knew the second coat wasn't going to be much better, but I just did a good sanding on everything between the coats here to get them back down smooth again. And same thing, it didn't really flow out good because it was just so hot that it dried instantly almost, but there really wasn't much I could do. I did learn that from now on you have to have a cooler temperature to spray this water-based polyurethane correctly. So I got the second coat on, and everything did cover good, and I mean even the pockets where the drawers go in and stuff came out really nice and covered. And this is only about 2 minutes later and it's already dry, you can see. So spraying was definitely the best way to go. It just would have been nice if it was a little bit cooler out to get a little better flow out and stuff, but it came out all right in the end. And it was time to go back in and start working on the those live edge or natural edge tops here. And I had to cut them to size. And playing with this natural edge, you really have to kind of fiddle with it because there's no such thing as really square. You have to try to get what looks best when you set it in place. So I got the I got the first one there all cut, sized right there, and doesn't look too bad. I did have a couple of imperfections and little pockets in it that I just put a little bit of epoxy in on that one there, and just let that dry just so it would be smooth when it was done. And then I went back and did some sizing up on the next one also. And I must say that Amana 40-tooth combination blade that I got really is one of my favorite blades that I've ever bought. It just does such a good job no matter what you're cutting, so I'm extremely happy with that. So I got the tops cut to size, and then I wanted to round over the edges, and I didn't want it to be anything like a router straight look. I wanted it to be rustic, and I tried with a dull plane first, and that really didn't do much. And I put some 36 grit sanding belts on my belt sander there and started grinding away at it for a while. And this really did take a long time, and it did make a pretty good mess. But eventually I was able to get it somewhat rustic looking, and a little bit of a rasp there, and just kept on going back with different variations of tools, trying to get something that was not a perfect edge, but something that was a nice flowing radius there. So that first one there did take me a while, and it was kind of first time I've tried to do something like this without using a round over bit and a router, so you do learn quickly. And then I just started going down with finer grits of sandpaper and stuff, trying to blend everything in and try and be careful not to knock the bark off and stuff like that also. So it did take a while to get it down, and I did in the end come up with a shape that I was real happy with. And this is where it really pays to have all different type of sanding options and sanders and stuff to help blend stuff like this in. But in the end, it did take a lot of hand sanding also to get everything the way I wanted it. And I'm thinking when I get ready to do the top for the dresser that's going to match these, I'm probably going to be looking into like one of those rasp bits for my 4.5-inch grinder or something to speed this process up and give me a little more of an option. And I did on the other one, I did take the spoke shave that I have, and I sharpened the blade up on that little grizzly sharpener that I purchased, and that really did help a lot. That made it a lot easier to take a little bit more material off and to start the shaping process. So that was a lot quicker doing it that way, and then just going back and doing a little more shaping with the sander to get it looking like I wanted it to. And as I said before, there still was a lot of hand sanding to get everything to get rid of those straight edges from the other sanders and stuff to make it blend nicely. So I got them all sanded down and back out to the shop to spray them. Now I went out early in the morning and before it really got hot out, so it's probably only about 85 out now out here, and the spraying did go a lot better. The polyurethane actually did flow out better, and I really had to spray these because of the live edge. I really wanted to get a good coating on that. So you can see pretty much that the overspray is not as bad, and they do they are spraying up a lot nicer now. It's flowing out a lot better. And as I said before, I really kind of don't like using these water-based polyurethane finishes, but the future is here, and I'm going to have to start learning a little more about them and how to use them better. And it seems that temperature really does make a big difference. And there you can see it's got that milky color on it where it's really still flowing out. It didn't dry instantly, and so I did get a nice smooth coat on them. And then I went back and same thing, I sanded them and went back and just did a nice heavy second coat on them also. I found that 2 coats of this was really enough. Yeah, so I'm really thinking here now that right around 80 degrees or lower is probably the best temperature to apply this finish at. And that little Harbor Freight sprayer has been working really wonderfully with it. It's very easy to clean up, and there you can see it's flowing out again here. So they did come out real nice compared to the bodies of the cabinet. So there it is. I got everything all finished and sitting together, and got the drawers done there. But I've been waiting for a oscillating edge sander that I ordered a while ago to come, and it was supposed to be delivered weeks ago, and I cleaned up my shop there, made room for it, but it never actually showed up. So I did order a base for it from Grizzly, and as you can see, the UPS destroyed the box and lost parts to it and stuff, and so that showed up on time, and also the belts for it showed up on time, but the sander never did show up. So finally I just got so mad that I canceled it because Northern Tool had lied about a shipping date. So anyhow, it's back to starting to wet sand everything now to make the finish come out better. And this is actually the first time I've ever attempted this with this water-based polyurethane. So what I did is I started out with a 320 grit, and that's this is on the top, and they weren't really in too bad a shape. They came out pretty nice. So I just did it first with that the 320 there, and that started to get everything nice and leveled out. And you can see it really did dull it off though, but it's just a matter of just keep on going with finer grits. And I went to 400 grit next year to try to get some of the marks from the 320 out. And the good thing about it is, oh wait, here it is. Then I went down to 800, and then I went to 1,000, and finally I finished up at 1,500 grit sanding. So, it was a lot of time spent sanding these things down and stuff. But the good thing is, with the air conditioning on in the house and my dehumidifier running in the shop and stuff, this finish really dried rock hard in a couple of days. So, it is real easy to sand out and finish up here like this. So there it is. That's about the 1,500 grit there, and really you don't see much coming off of it at that point, but you can see it's still really dull. It lost the original sheen, and I really don't know what grit it would take to get it back to shiny, but I gave up at 1,500 grit and decided to just go back and put 2 good coats of Johnson's paste wax on it, which actually brought it back to a nice, not a super high gloss, but a nice kind of like a matte sheen to it. And, they are glass smooth now and stuff too. So I'm real happy with the first time I've, really sanded this stuff out and polished it up, and I'm real happy with the way it came out. So next it's back to the carcasses, and these really did have a lot of like orange peel from the paint drying so fast and stuff. So this was not as easy a job. These did take a lot more sanding time and a lot more prep time to get everything down, so it actually came out nice and smooth like the tops. So I got them all sanded down and waxed. The top's done, and I just had a couple holes that I put up through the top of the cabinet there. They were a little bit oversized for the screws to allow me to mount the top, and I didn't really worry about movement because you can see the direction of the grain is in the same direction on both the carcass and the top, so any expansion and contraction should be fairly reasonably close. I mean, I think the walnut nut will move a little bit more than the ash, but I left big enough clearance holes to make up for that. So, there it is. The cabinets are all pretty much finished now, and, ready for the drawers to be worked on. In the meantime, I had pulled some night lights from my bathroom when I replaced them with those new ones I did the video about. And I decided I was going to mount one under each of these cabinets so you really wouldn't see it where it's mounted. But the motion sensors actually detect motion the minute your feet hit the floor getting out of bed at night and turn the lights on and get a real nice glow. And I had some handy boxes laying around, and I made up some little aluminum brackets to just kind of screw them to the bottom and give me a place to mount to. And so, I put them together, and I wired just a lamp cord, standard lamp cord on there to plug into the outlet there, and then just put a couple screws up into the bottom of the cabinet to hold it in place through that bracket I made. And it did really turn out to be a nice feature, once we got to try it in the dark room at night. So there it is, lights mounted, and then just a couple of those, got cheap and just put on a couple of those little stick-on felt feet here. I didn't want anything that would really be seen or anything like that. Then, seeing how the other sander never came, I wound up dragging my Harbor Freight sander I had out my metal shop. This little old thing has been a workhorse for years and, never given me a problem, but it's out there because it has no dust collection on it. So I brought it in, I just stuck a dust hose behind it, and I got my fan going there alongside it to try and catch the dust as I just go back through and do the final touch-up on all these drawer faces. I didn't want to do it with a belt sander because I wanted a nice, or with my small belt sander because I wanted a nice flat platen to work against so everything would come out perfect and it wouldn't be rounded or anything. So the sander actually did the job. It did make a tremendous mess. You can't really see it here, but the whole shop got coated with about 1/4 of an inch of sanding dust from this operation. So, hopefully someday in the future I'll find another, I'll order the oscillating edge sander again. But right now the job is done and I don't need it anymore. So as I said, I just called up, canceled the order. So this, this sander actually made a quick job of going back through and, getting all the drawers perfectly squared up and getting rid of any glue squeeze out or anything that was on there. And there also were some marks from the clamps, some black marks that they leave when the glue gets on them and stuff like that. So there you can see, there's one all finished up and a 2-minute job to clean it up. And there's one where you can see the glue lines and stuff like that, and there's even the clamping mark and stuff that all have to be sanded out. Now, one thing I found is for that fan I've got with the filter on it, I went to Home Depot to buy some more filters, and they now have a different brand filter in the store that actually does not work half as good as the old Ream filters that they used to sell. And there you can see a lot of the fine dust actually goes through these new filters and doesn't get captured. So I'm going to do a video about that, next, where I'm actually building a new fan assembly. And I did find you can order the old filters online again. So it's back to, I got them all sanded with the belt sander. Now it's back to just doing the final cleanup on them. And I have to tell you, between all the sanding and wet sanding and everything, I probably have close to 60 to 70 hours of just sanding time in this project. And then it's time to go back to the router table, and I wanted the fronts to have like a shadow line when they went into, just give it a little more visual impact in the front there. So I just cut some 45-degree chamfers around the front edge of the drawers, and then I had to go back and just do finer and finer sandpaper, just sanding everything down. And then for the final cleanup, I had to use a block of wood with some stick-on sandpaper to keep the chamfers perfectly straight, square, with sharp corners and stuff when they were done. Now, I wanted to spray these drawers originally, but it's just too hot out there to even attempt it again. I just I decided it wasn't worth the hassle, so I actually wound up painting all 18 drawers with that that same polycrylic, and I just used foam brushes and did a little bit at a time, a couple surfaces, until I could let that dry and rotate them and stuff. And eventually I got the all the edges of them coated there, and it was just it was really time consuming, but I didn't want to try it outside again. It was just, do a little bit, flip it, do a little bit, flip it. I did find these 24-piece chrome brush packs at my dollar store, and I bought 10 of them, so I just wound up throwing away brushes after every time I used one for a little while, which really worked out good. So, and then got the first coat on, then I had to sand everything. And as I said before, these new filters just wouldn't catch any of this, especially this fine sanding dust from the polyurethane. They weren't good, so I did have to wear a dust mask and stuff when messing with that. So it was quite time consuming, all the sanding on this project. And eventually I did get everything, two good coats. I actually put 3 coats on the front. And then it was time to start wet sanding all 18 drawers, which, that was another whole project in itself. And I did the same as the rest of it. I started with 400, 800, actually 320, 400, 800, and then 1,000, and then 1,500 grit. And then a coat of the Johnson's paste wax. And I will say, in the end, I'm really happy with the finish that I did get with this, this polycrylic stuff after all the sanding and waxing and stuff. It was an acceptable finish to me, so I guess I'll be using it more often. Then originally I was going to make some walnut hex-shaped knobs to go on the drawers, but after making some prototypes and looking at them, I decided I didn't like them, and I went online and I found these little library drawer pulls, and I actually ordered a batch of them. I thought they'd look a little better, so I made a little fixture to make it quicker to put them on, to just kind of line each one up on the drawer and be able to just punch through the holes there and then drill a pilot hole for the screw. Now these did have some real tiny little screws on them, and so you did need I did need a small screwdriver, but they actually seem to go in and hold pretty good with no problems at all. So I think that they should last. And they were a pretty good deal too. I wound up getting them on Amazon. It was a pack of 20 of them for, I think it was like around $16 or something like that, with all the hardware and stuff. And in the future, I'll be making some little labels to go in there. You can see they got a little pocket recessed in the back there to slide a label in. So finally, the end is near, and the drawers are all starting to go back together into the carcass here. You can see that the drawers still are like a real white color from the ash, and it's going to take a couple weeks in the sun to actually yellow them out a little bit to match the bed upstairs. And the sides of these are actually a brown ash, so they're always going to be a little bit darker than the drawers. And the top is walnut, as you can see. So now it's time to bring them up, but before that, we just got a really bad storm came through. Just like a 15-minute storm went through the area. All the heat stuff, I guess, caused it, and of course the power's out again. So I, had to drag the generator out, hook that up quickly, and now I'm going to be moving them up. And you can see those are the old night tables there. They matched that bed frame that was there before, and here's the new ones. Going in there, and there you can see the light under them, and they actually do work good. When you walk in the room or get off the bed, they actually do come on for 90 seconds. And there you can see you walk in the room when it's dark out, and they come right on and light the floor really well. And the same with the other one on the other side. They just come on. They don't shine up on the bed or anything, so you can see your way to get in and out without having any bright light in your eyes. And just have to wait for the front of them to yellow out to match that bed frame a little bit. And here you can see pretty much 2 nightstands are done. So we still have to get some new lamps and stuff like that, but we're real happy with the way they came out so far. And next, I'll be moving on to do a wall shelf that goes above them, and to do a main dresser to match them all. So I just thought I'd share this to just show you how they wound up in the end. And they did turn out to be a lot more work than I had visioned when I started, but I'm happy with the outcome. And it's always fun to make furniture from trees that actually did start out by growing in the backyard. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.